Everybody needs a little January adjustment. All right, the House Rules Committee will come to order. With the clerk, please take the attendance.
Chair Schuette?
Here.
Representatives Aragona?
Here.
Wenzel? Here. Martin? Here. Posthumus? Here. DeBoer? Here. Whitwer? Here. Liberati? Here. Herzberg? Mr. Chair, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. Representative Posthumus moves to adopt the minutes of the December 16th meeting. There being no objection, the motion prevails by unanimous consent. We will now be hearing testimony on House Bill 4361. Representative Phil Green will be testifying. Representative, please come forward. Begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and esteemed members of this Rules Committee. House Bill 4361 was built out of a lot of concern power companies. What we learned was there was this cool thing called the emerald ash borer that got into the ash trees, killed the ash trees, and then as time progressed, limbs that were over the top of the power lines broke and took out the power lines, and that was a consistent thing. And so when I came, I began digging into how do we fix that. Of course, about a year ago, there was an event up in northern Michigan where the power lines were literally destroyed from ice buildup on the trees. Trees came down and took out the power lines. And so what we came up with as a solution was inside of the act that regulated the Public Service Commission, that created the Public Service Commission, to allow power companies, when they trimmed the power lines, to go straight from the ground to the sky instead of allowing tree limbs to be over the top of power lines. Seems like a pretty common sense solution to a major issue that has been plaguing our state in different capacities. So House Bill 4361 adds a section to the law regulating the Public Service Commission that says that the Public Service Commission would create standards that would allow the tree trimmers to trim from the ground to the sky to save costs or improve transmission or distribution line reliability, and likewise to maintain all vegetation for up to 15 feet from the outermost portion of the wire that conducts electricity or whatever distance is considered necessary to improve reliability. So that is the essence, and that is the purpose of the bill.
Great. Vegetation management is, you're a man from the thumb. I'm from mid-Michigan. That's what we call tree trimming. Appreciate your work on that. And this involves the Public Service Commission and their rule promulgation authority. What have your discussions been with that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
What discussions, if any, have you had with the Public Service Commission regarding the rulemaking authority?
We've discussed it. Obviously, we've worked the bill, and at this point, according to the last committee hearing, I did not see any opposition to the wording, and they have had their input, whatever input they would have chosen.
All right. Representative DeBoer.
What have the forestry people said?
As I spoke with those tree trimmers that did that, this was one of their major requests, was to allow them to go right straight up. So my understanding from those that maintain the lines, they are very supportive. We also have the president of the Michigan, of MECA, that is here to take any technical questions as well, if need be.
So they don't feel like this is going to hurt the forestry of Michigan by going straight to the sky?
No, in reality, they're already allowed to trim 15 feet out. So they're not cutting any major trees that they wouldn't already be cutting. What they would be trimming is the branches. So the current standard is they go 15 feet out, they go up to the height of the power lines, and then they trim at a 45-degree angle above the power lines. So we're not talking about 16-inch trees. We're talking about 6, 8-inch limbs that are above the power lines at this point.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, members of the committee? All right, thank you very much, Representative. I have one card to read in on this. Not wishing to speak in support of the bill is John Cran from Mecca. All right. We will now be hearing testimony and subsequently taking up House Bill 4910. Representative Borton will be testifying.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Schutte, members of the committee. Appreciate the opportunity to testify today. I'm going to speak on House Bill 4910. This legislation is short and sweet. It would expand continuing education options for dentistry professions by allowing the largest nonprofit dental care corporation, Delta Dental, to provide courses that count towards required continuing education requirements. The goal of this legislation is simple. It will help cut red tape by simplifying licensure and continuing education. I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I'm available for any questions if you have any.
Appreciate it, Representative Borton. Good red tape bill, expanding flexibility and continuing education here. Appreciate your work on it. And I'm correct that there is a substitute H1, which would allow Delta Dental to provide continuing education and have a 12-month enacting period. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Great. All right. Any other questions from members of the committee? Well, thank you, Representative Borton.
All right. Thank you.
And on that H1 substitute, Representative Aragona, Vice Chair Aragona, moves to adopt the substitute. Would the clerk please call the roll?
On the motion to adopt the substitute, Chair Schutte?
Yes.
Representatives Aragona?
Yes.
Wenzel? Yes. Martin?
Yes.
Posthumus?
Yes.
DeBoer?
Yes.
Whitwer? Yes. Liberati?
Yes.
Hersberg?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 9 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 pass. The motion does prevail.
The substitute is adopted. And Representative DeBoer moves to report the bill with recommendation as substitute H1. Would the clerk please call the roll?
On the motion to report, Chair Schutte?
Yes.
Representatives Aragona?
Yes.
Wenzel? Yes. Martin?
Yes.
Posthumus?
Yes.
DeBoer?
Yes.
Whitwer? Yes. Liberati?
Yes.
Hersberg?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 9 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 pass. The motion does prevail.
The bill is reported with recommendation. Now, we will be hearing testimony on House Bill 4501. Representative Mueller will be testifying with Derek Sova, Policy and Legislative Specialist for the Cannabis Regulatory Agency. Gentlemen, please come forward. Begin when you're ready.
I also bring up Claire Patterson with the agency as well.
Sure.
Thank you, Representative Schutte and members of the committee. Basically, what this is it was an oversight, another bill to fix something. And what it does is we have a lab that was built over in Lansing to test recreational marijuana and marijuana in general, but they're not allowed to transport or possess the marijuana. So there was some type of oversight because we have independent labs that are testing the marijuana. And all this would do is have one central state-regulated lab that would be able to take samples from each laboratory that tests the marijuana to make sure that they're not getting bad samples or being pushed around by some of the bigger growers to manipulate some of the findings with mold and things that can go wrong with marijuana. But for more detailed, I'll turn it over to the experts here.
Thank you, Representative. Mr. Chairman, committee members, appreciate the opportunity to speak today. I'm Derek Silva with the Cannabis Regulatory Agency, and this is Claire Patterson. She is the director of the reference lab that we're talking about this morning. First of all, I want to thank Representative Mueller for sponsoring this legislation. I'll add a little bit more color to the summary he already provided. So in Michigan, we have a handful of marijuana license types. We have growers and processors. Those are the folks that grow the marijuana. They make the vapes, they make the gummies, they make the cookies. And then we also have retailers, and those are the folks who actually sell directly to consumers. In between those, we have 17 privately owned and operated, state licensed safety compliance facilities or testing labs. And these are the folks that actually do the testing of the products before they make it to retail shelves to make sure they are safe for consumption. They test for things like molds, metals, pesticides, aspergillus, and a host of other things that are harmful if consumed. One of the strongest arguments that was made in support of legalizing marijuana in 2018 was that legal marijuana would be tested and it would be safe. Unfortunately, that has not been the case. Like Representative Mueller said, the reason for that has been this issue of lab shopping. And I'll give you an example of what that looks like. Let's say all of you collectively own a testing lab and I am a grower. And I come to you and say, hey, I want to give you my business. Can you test my marijuana? And you say, sure. You test it and you come back and you say, okay, we know you want this to have 30% THC, but it only has 20% THC. It also has mold. So it fails testing. It's not safe. You can't sell it. And I said, well, that's interesting because I took the same sample of marijuana to a competitor of yours and they told me that it had 30% THC and there was no mold. So what are we going to do about that? And so now as a lab, you're in a position where you can stand by your testing results and you know you're going to lose this business to your competitor, or maybe you take it back and test it again and say, okay, I guess it actually does have 30% THC and there is no mold. And so now we slap a sticker on it and put it on a retail shelf and the consumer comes into that retailer, sees that product and assumes that it's safe. Every one of you have constituents that use these products across the state, and this is a serious problem. It is a national problem. And it is getting worse, not better. And so the solution that we have come up with, and this is what many other states are pursuing as well, is a state-run reference laboratory that will essentially do two things. It will allow us to go in and audit the test results of the private labs. We are not looking to take over the responsibility of the testing ourselves. Our goal is to make sure that the labs testing themselves, that the labs actually doing the testing are getting the correct test results. The second thing it'll allow us to do is to do investigations in-house. Right now, if we're doing an investigation of a licensee and we have to do testing as part of that investigation, right now we have to ask one of the private labs to do that testing for us. They're not compensated for that. They have to fit it into their existing testing schedule, which oftentimes delays important investigations that we're doing. And it also calls into question the integrity of the investigation because, again, we're essentially outsourcing an important part of that. So the reference lab will both restore integrity to the testing environment, protecting consumer safety, and it will greatly improve our investigative capabilities. Just a brief history of the issue of the lab itself. Funding was appropriated in the FY24 budget. There was a separate line for the lab. It wasn't hidden anywhere. And throughout the budget process, in the subcommittees, full appropriations, and on the floor, both chambers, no concerns were raised about the lab anywhere throughout the process. And so once the budget was passed and we got the funding, we began planning, procurement, and construction of the lab. Like Representative Mueller mentioned, because marijuana is still federally illegal, we wanted to make sure we have the authority explicitly to possess marijuana in the lab. And so a version of this bill was first introduced back in early 2024. There was not urgency at the time. Again, construction was still a long way off. But over the last 2 years, the lab has been built. We are ready to go. Some of your colleagues, including Representative Mueller and some staff, came out and took a tour of the lab a couple of months ago to see where we are at. And we are just waiting on this legislation to get up and running. I just quickly want to read an excerpt from an email we received just last week. This was unprompted. Came in.
We have a pretty packed testimony agenda, so I think we're going to stick to the substance of the bill right now.
Okay.
But yep.
Yep.
Do we have any questions from members of the committee on the legislation? All right. Well, thank you for your testimony. We'll very thorough. Appreciate that, and definitely need to provide some more testing. We have now wishing to speak in support of the bill, Paige Foltz from Lara, and not wishing to speak in support of the bill, Kevin McKinney from the Michigan Cannabis Industry Association. All right. We will now be hearing testimony on House Bill 4593. Representative Bierlein will be testifying with Bill Sullivan from the Michigan Dental Association. Gentlemen, come forward. Begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Schutte and members of the committee for the opportunity to speak with you today regarding House Bill 4593. I'm joined by Bill Sullivan with the Michigan Dental Association. He's here to answer any technical questions the committee may have. The bill addresses a straightforward but important concern. It's ensuring that Michigan patients are not misled by inaccurate or deceptive claims of dental specialization. Under Michigan's public health code, only licensed professionals can use certain titles, just as only licensed dentists may call themselves dentists. Only those who have completed advanced training and earned recognition in specialty fields such as orthodontics or oral surgery may call themselves specialists. However, a 2020 lawsuit against Lara led to rule changes allowing general dentists to market themselves as specialists in unrecognized areas like implantology or cosmetic dentistry. Patients often don't realize the difference and trust these claims when seeking complex care, and this has led to serious complications, costly corrective procedures, and a loss of trust. This situation undermines the safety and fairness of those who have legitimately earned specialty credentials. This bill closes this loophole by clarifying that only dentists licensed in a recognized specialty may represent themselves as specialists. If passed, the bill would restore honesty in advertising, protecting patients, and upholding integrity in Michigan's dental profession. So I thank you, Chair and Committee, for bringing this forward, and look forward to questions.
Any questions, members of the committee? So, Representative, thank you for working on this, and I talked to some of my local providers about this. Basically, right now, a specialist there's no regulation saying that a specialist can't just advertise that they are a dentist. There's not really any guardrails left or right on that. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the examples that we used in the Health Policy Committee, we brought up a slide of somebody's website that said they specialized in child dentistry, and then it had a little disclaimer really small on the bottom that said not a specialist in adolescent dentistry. They specialized in it, but they weren't actually a certified specialist. And so it's just trying to clean things up like that.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate the testimony. Now wishing to speak in support of the bill is Kevin McKinney from the Michigan Association of Orthodontists. All right. We will now be hearing testimony on House Bill 4981, and Representative Fairbairn will be testifying with Carol Berger, the Secretary of Michigan Mental Health Counselors. Please begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you this morning to speak to the merits of House Bill 4935, which will amend Michigan Public Health Code to redesignate limited license counselors as limited license professional counselors. This new designation, as requested by the Michigan Mental Health Counselors Association, is intended to provide greater clarity of meaning, professional identity, and alignment of Michigan's public health terminology with that of many other states. A limited license counselor, or LLC, practices under the supervision of a licensed professional counselor, or LPC, and is typically in the process of earning full licensure as a licensed professional counselor. Thus, redesignation to LLPC would clarify their role and status. This change will also more closely align Michigan's health professional terminology with that of the 34 states that have already entered the multi-state counseling compact, as Michigan is seeking to do under legislation passed by this chamber earlier this year. This change would also eliminate common confusion between the business acronym for a limited liability company, which is also abbreviated LLC, and which causes confusion for members of the public who are more accustomed to reading LLC as a business structure, moreover than a mental health professional. Now to offer a little more feedback on this is Carol Berger. She's a licensed professional counselor and secretary of the Michigan Mental Health Counselors Association.
Chair Schutte, Chair Schutte and honorable committee members, I'm here today to respectfully request your support in restoring the professional designation Limited Licensed Professional Counselor, or LLPC, in Michigan's counselor licensing law. I also want to thank Representative Fairbairn for sponsoring this important bill. In 2019, when Michigan passed Public Act 96, the legislation inadvertently changed the longstanding term limited licensed professional counselor, or LLPC, to limited licensed counselor, LLC. While this may seem like a minor change, it's created significant and ongoing confusion in our field. For nearly 3 decades, from 1990 to 2019, Michigan used the LLPC designation. The change to LLC was not intentional. It was an oversight that has had unintended consequences. This matters because, as Rep. Fairbairn said, the abbreviation LLC is universally recognized as limited liability corporation in business and legal contexts. When our counselors use LLC after their names, it creates confusion among clients seeking mental health services, insurance companies processing claims, other healthcare providers making referrals, professional credentialing bodies, and the general public. Additionally, Michigan now stands alone in using the LLC terminology. Most of the country recognizes and uses LLPC for this level of professional counselor licensing. This inconsistency creates unnecessary barriers for counselors who are licensed in multiple states and adds confusion to interstate professional recognition. We respectfully ask this committee to support HB 4981, which would restore the limited licensed professional counselor designation. This would eliminate confusion with business entities, align Michigan with national standards, restore clarity to professional credentials, and honor the nearly 30-year tradition that existed before 2019. This is a simple technical correction that will have meaningful impact for Michigan's mental health counselors and the clients they serve. Thank you for your consideration and your continued support of mental health services in Michigan, and I welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you, Representative Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So is Michigan already in a mental health compact?
The legislation has passed the House.
Okay, so it has been signed into law.
And it's
Would
in
this
Senate.
prohibit or complicate the designation for those working outside the state or those wanting to work inside the state? Or is it just something we want to clarify? It wouldn't stop the compact?
It wouldn't prohibit.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions, members of the committee? Thank you both. Gonna read in a couple of cards here. Not wishing to speak, but submitting written testimony in support of the bill is Sarah Schaefer from the Michigan Licensed Professional Counselors Association. And not wishing to speak in support of the bill is Dwayne Bregic from the National Association of Social Workers. Was I close? All right, well, we'll see. All right. Now, we will be hearing testimony on House Bill 4855. Representative Preston will be coming back in front of the committee. Please begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. This legislation is pretty straightforward. It permits bow hunters to carry a sidearm for personal protection while hunting. Michigan law generally allows legal gun owners to openly carry firearms. However, many of you may be unaware that the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act, NREPA, prohibits carrying weapons in areas frequented by wild animals, unless the weapon is used for hunting with a valid license or the individual holds a concealed pistol license, which is required for both concealed and open carry in these areas. This creates 2 significant issues. Number one, lack of public awareness. Many of the constituents up in my area are unaware of this, and they're inadvertently breaking the law, not even realizing it. The other obstacle is just the unnecessary burden. Placing this law on law-abiding individuals and prohibiting them from open carrying when they're bow hunting puts them at a serious disadvantage. Unlike firearm hunters who can use their hunting weapon for self-defense against predators like bears, wolves, cougars, bear hunters, bow hunters face a significant challenge when defending themselves, because you just have a bow and a bolt. It's one shot. This bill addresses that disparity by allowing bow hunters to open carry a sidearm for protection without requiring a CPL. I know plenty of friends, and during testimony was brought up to speed on many other instances. A lot of it involves wolves and black bears, because bow hunters like tree stands, and so do bears. Bears love trees. So, any questions?
You have both wolves and black bears in the Upper Peninsula.
Yeah, we've got wolf cougars. The cougars live in trees too. So there's, for bow hunters out there with just a bow and nothing else, and if they carry a sidearm, an open carry sidearm, they're breaking the law. You're out there and you're feeling naked. You really are.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you bringing that up. Representative Martin.
Yeah, I'll just add that one of the Wardens of the North episodes, the hunter he had several violations. He was not a perfect character, but the fact that he quoted that open carry, he was allowed to open carry, and he was in violation because it was in a hunting area without a CPL. So he did have that conflict of understanding, even though he had tons of other violations.
Yeah, and many hunters, the vast majority of them are even unaware of this. In fact, they're really quite awestruck when they hear that this is actually illegal. So,
Liberati, Representative Liberati.
Thank you, Chair. What's the penalty right now if they get caught? Do they get a warning and say?
No,
hey,
usually if
fine?
it gets to that point, they're written. I don't know what the exact penalty is. It's, I guess I was so taken aback. This was brought to me by a constituent who had a run-in like this. I was so taken aback at it, I didn't even get that far into it. It just, in my mind, it's something that shouldn't even be there, You've literally got one bolt and a bow and one shot to protect yourself. But if you're looking at a large apex predator, you're toast. So.
All right. Any other questions from members of the committee? All right. Well, Representative Preston, don't go anywhere just yet because we're going to be taking up House Bill 4897, 4898, and 4907, where you will be testifying in addition to Representative Martin. So, busy day for you in front of the Rules Committee.
And David? Kick it off.
So we had for mine, I had the boiler installers. We've taken it 6 down to 5 licenses. I now have the King James Version of the amendments. What it really does is it takes the license 1B boiler installer and combines it with a 2B. If you can install a pipe, you can install a pipe. Basically, those two licenses say. It's very simple.
And on my aspect, it really cuts a lot of the red tape when it comes to, 5B installers and class 4 boiler repairs, and allows them, they're installing them to begin with. It not only allows them to install, but then allows them to continue to repair and do the necessary testing. Under this, they'll be classified under the highest level of licensure on this, allowing them to conduct the maintenance and testing the safety devices that is common. It's just a common sense issue on boiler repair as well as maintenance. So happy to bring this forward and bring a little sanity where there is a little.
Thank you. Yeah, sanity is welcome in politics these days, believe it or not. Appreciate the work, Representative Martin. One of the things the Rules Committee has looked at is, where do we have stipulations in rulemaking that we want to put into statute and to cut down on red tape and best protect consumers and allow for competitiveness. So appreciate the work there. Do we have any questions from members of the committee? All right. Seeing none, we've finally released you, Representative Preston, and just have one card to read in support of the bill, not wishing to speak, Paige Foltz from Lara. And with that, Representative Martin moves to adopt the H1 substitute for House Bill 4897, which he referred to as the King James Version. Would the clerk please call the roll?
On the motion to adopt the substitute, Chair Schutte?
Yes.
Representative Zaragoza? Yes. Wenzel? Yes. Martin? Yes. Posthumus?
Yes.
DeBoer?
Yes.
Whitwer? Yes. Liberati? Yes. Hersberg? Yes. Mr. Chair, you have 9 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 pass. The motion does prevail.
The substitute is adopted. And Representative Martin again moves to report the bill with recommendation as substitute H1. Would the clerk please call the roll?
On the motion to report, Chair Schutte?
Yes.
Representative Zaragoza? Yes. Wenzel? Yes. Martin? Yes. Posthumus?
Yes.
DeBoer?
Yes.
Whitwer? Yes. Liberati? Yes. Hersberg? Yes. Mr. Chair, you have 9 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 pass. The motion does prevail.
And Representative Postumus moves to adopt substitute H1 for House Bill 4898. Will the clerk please call the roll?
On the motion to adopt the substitute, Chair Schutte?
Yes.
Representatives Aragona? Yes. Wenzel? Yes. Martin? Yes. Postumus?
Yes.
DeBoer?
Yes.
Whitwer? Yes. Liberati? Yes. Hersberg? Yes. Mr. Chair, you have 9 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 pass. The motion does prevail.
The substitute is adopted. And Representative Martin moves to report the bill with recommendation as substitute H1. Would the clerk please call the roll?
On the motion to report, Chair Schutte?
Yes.
Representatives Aragona? Yes. Wenzel? Yes. Martin? Yes. Postumus?
Yes.
DeBoer?
Yes.
Whitwer? Liberati?
Yes.
Hersberg?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 9 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 pass. The motion does prevail.
The bill is reported with recommendation. And Representative Liberati moves to adopt substitute H1 for House Bill 4907. Will the clerk please call the roll?
On the motion to adopt the substitute, Chair Schutte?
Yes.
Representatives Aragona?
Yes.
Wenzel? Yes. Martin?
Yes.
Postumus?
Yes.
DeBoer?
Yes.
Whitwer? Liberati?
Yes.
Hersberg? Mr. Chair, you have 9 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 pass. The motion does prevail.
The substitute is adopted. And Representative Martin moves one last time to report the bill with recommendation as substitute H1. Would the clerk please call the roll?
On the motion to report, Chair Schutte?
Yes.
Representatives Aragona? Wenzel? Yes. Martin? Yes. Postumus?
Yes.
DeBoer?
Yes.
Whitwer? Yes. Liberati?
Yes.
Hersberg? Yes. Mr. Chair, you have 9 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 pass. The motion does prevail.
The bill is reported with recommendation. Great. Now we will be hearing testimony and subsequently taking up House Bill 4679. Representative Liberati will be testifying with a couple of guests. Yep, Scott Irwin from Deluxe Rental. Gentlemen, begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. House Bill 4679 will change how small rental companies are allowed to disperse fuel. Right now, they have to have the same fuel pumps that gas stations do. It's very costly, and you're dealing with a small amount of fuel. It's not cost efficient for the owner or the customer. So what they end up doing, since they don't have that, they have to charge for a full tank or nothing. So this is going to give them an opportunity to sell it by the gallon, just in a different way. And Scott can talk about the day-to-day of that.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I am the owner of Deluxe Rental, and we are a small rental store located in Ypsilanti, Michigan. What this bill would do for us would be, it would allow us to fill up our own equipment, basically. We could use up to a 110-gallon tank with a flow meter that is accurate to plus or minus 1%. Clearly state on the contract that if you don't fill the equipment up, that we're going to charge you X amount of dollars per gallon, and we're going to use a piece of equipment that is plus or minus 1%. So there's no hiding it from the consumer. And, you know, it's easy for us because right now we have to charge by the tank. If somebody brings back a 25-gallon tank and they're 2 gallons short, then we have to charge them for 25 gallons of fuel. And we're not going to keep our customers doing that when some of the other bigger stores around us have the ability to fill up that 2 gallons and charge them 2 gallons. I mean, even if their prices are a little bit higher, they know they're not going to have that fuel charge. And it's not that easy to get some of this equipment into stations that do have diesel fuel tanks. Not all stations do. And when you're a full-size pickup truck, full-size trailer, you have to pull all the way through to fuel up the equipment. There are very few gas stations that are set up to handle something like that. And a lot of the small contractors that we deal with, the owner of the business stays on the job and one of their workers brings the equipment back. That worker doesn't have a credit card for that company anyway. So we were fined $1,850 by Weights and Measures for dispersing out of unregulated pumps. And we were told that if we violate that again, that we could see a $10,000 fine per occurrence. So right now what we're doing is just having to eat 2 or 3 gallons of fuel when it comes back, because we can't charge a customer $150 for that. It doesn't seem fair. And we can't violate the law because we're, at exposure for $10,000 an occurrence. So we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. And so are most of the small rental stores that operate here in Michigan.
Thank you. Any questions from members of the committee? Representative Martin.
Well, I didn't do the math real closely, but so somebody brings their tank back for a few gallons, and for the price of $15 or so, you were fined $1,700?
Well, we were distributing out of 3 different tanks. We were charged $500 per tank for not having, a tank that met the standard, and then a $350.
So you did this great favor for your customers, very good business model.
Right, that's what.
And then the government comes and fines you 3 times more than what the favors you did for your customers.
That is correct, yes.
With friends like that, my goodness. All right. Any other questions from members of the committee? All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And I see as he's walking back that Representative Liberati moves to report the bill with recommendation. Would the clerk please call the roll?
On the motion to report, Chair Schutte?
Yes.
Representative Zaragoza?
Yes.
Wenzel? Yes. Martin?
Yes.
Posthumus?
Yes.
DeBoer?
Yes.
Whitwer? Yes. Liberati?
Yes.
Hersberg?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 9 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 pass. The motion does prevail.
The bill is reported with recommendation. And the Rules Committee will now be taking up House Bill 4896. There is a substitute H1, which makes a technical change or technical changes as requested by Laura. And Representative Posthumus moves to adopt the substitute. Would the clerk please call the roll?
To adopt the substitute,
Yes.
Representatives Zaragoza?
Yes.
Wenzel? Yes. Martin?
Yes.
Posthumus?
Yes.
DeBoer?
Yes.
Whitwer? Yes. Liberati?
Yes.
Hersberg?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays, and 3 pass. The motion does prevail.
The substitute is adopted. And Representative DeBoer moves to report the bill with recommendation as substitute H1. Would the clerk please call the roll?
On the motion to report, Chair Schutte?
Yes.
Representative Zaragoza?
Yes.
Wenzel? Yes. Martin?
Yes.
Posthumus?
Yes.
DeBoer?
Yes.
Whitwer? Liberati? Hersberg? Mr. Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays, and 3 pass. The motion does prevail.
The bill is reported with recommendation. We will now be taking up House Bill 4925. There is a substitute H3, which removes reporting requirements on data that Laura does not collect, and it adds an 18-month effective date. Representative Wenzel moves to adopt the substitute. Would the clerk please call the roll?
On the motion to adopt the sub, Chair Schutte?
Yes.
Representative Zaragoza?
Yes.
Wenzel? Yes. Martin?
Yes.
Posthumus?
Yes.
DeBoer?
Yes.
Whitwer? Yes. Liberati?
Yes.
Hersberg?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays, and 3 pass. The motion does prevail.
The substitute is adopted. And Vice Chair Aragona moves to report the bill with recommendation as substitute H3. Would the clerk please call the roll?
On the motion to report, Chair Schutte?
Yes.
Representative Zaragoza?
Yes.
Wenzel? Yes. Martin?
Yes.
Posthumus?
Yes.
DeBoer?
Yes.
Whitwer? Yes. Liberati?
Yes.
Hersberg?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays, and 3 pass. The motion does prevail.
The bill is reported with recommendation. And Representative Hersberg moves to excuse absent members. And there being no objection, the motion prevails by unanimous consent. And there being no further business before the committee will stand adjourned.